Welcome to the Inc. Productivity Tip of the Day. Today's tip: 3 powerful and engaging ways to create psychological safety at work. Teams with high levels of trust tend to outperform teams lacking this key factor. Patrick Lencioni, author of The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, identifies the absence of trust as the foundational dysfunction of teams. To communicate effectively, engage in healthy conflict, and embrace new and diverse ideas, there must be a common thread of trust throughout the team. In atmospheres of high trust, team members feel encouraged and empowered to express themselves freely. Trust permits people to show up authentically, share what they think and feel, and engage in actions motivated by intrinsic values versus fears of social judgment. All of this is rocket fuel for engagement, innovation, and high performance. The capacity to express oneself without fear of negative consequences, such as social judgment, being dismissed or ignored, or unhealthy conflict, is referred to as psychological safety. Psychological safety has received a lot of buzz over the past few years. This is especially true as teams have gone remote and struggled to create or maintain strong relationships. Yet you might be wondering, how exactly can I create psychological safety within my team? Here are 3 practical and engaging ways to create psychological safety at work. 1. Use games to demonstrate and build safety and trust. It's one thing to talk about psychological safety at work. It's another thing to give your team the experience of feeling psychologically safe. A fun and engaging way to offer both education and experience in this area is through team-building exercises. One of my favorite exercises to build psychological safety with teams is called Silly Questions. Here's how to lead this exercise. Break team members into separate groups of 4 or 5. If you have a small team, you can do this all together. Then distribute a handout of silly questions to each team. These questions are nonsensical and are not supposed to contain logical or right answers. For example, why are some people afraid of spaghetti? What are the 3 friendliest colors? How many parachutes does it take to make a banana fly? Why does my cousin Jeffrey put all his savings into Bitcoin? The goal is for team members to come up with answers as fast as possible. Encourage participants to try not to censor themselves and to say the first thing that comes to mind. Participants can either take turns answering or jump in at any time. The first team to finish wins a prize. When the exercise is over, lead participants through a process of inquiry. For example, you might ask, "What was that experience like? What did you notice about yourself when answering the questions? Did you notice a desire to censor yourself or come up with the right answer? Did you perhaps worry about how others might perceive your response? How does this relate to how you might show up in other contexts, such as meetings? What is the utility of this exercise for teams?" 2. Lead by example by taking an interpersonal risk. As a leader, one of the most convincing ways to teach psychological safety is through your actions. For example, during a meeting, you might share something personal or vulnerable. Share a failure you experienced over the past week and what you learned. Or tell a funny story of something embarrassing that happened to you recently. Psychological safety does not always have to be so serious. Your team will appreciate your honesty and feel more comfortable doing the same. 3. Incorporate talking circles or similar processes into your culture. The age-old practice of a talking circle, sometimes referred to as counsel or simply group processing, is a powerful way to establish intimacy and safety among a team. While it is helpful to have an experienced facilitator guide this practice, there are a few basic rules you can implement with your team to begin creating the conditions for psychological safety. It is helpful to bring your team together and encourage a few guidelines at the outset. 1 person speaks at a time. It can be useful to have a talking piece, such as an object that may or may not hold symbolic value, that one individual holds to denote who is speaking. Listen deeply. When someone else is talking, try not to plan ahead to what you want to say. Just tune into what is being said. Speak from your heart. Say what you really think and feel. These practices can help your team begin to feel more connected, safe to take risks, and engaged and excited about the work they are pursuing together. That's it from Inc. Check Inc.com for more great articles about leadership from today's business thought leaders. Enjoy your weekend and come back Monday for another tip from Inc.